Well, here's the limiting switch, right? Off the deck. And one of those cables has to wire into that. So there's the switch, and there's where the cable comes out. We still have to find a four-wire cable, flexible with rubber or whatever on it, to hook up to this. If we can get it hooked up to this, I think we can get the other end. Okay, right there is what caused all of this trouble to begin with. These are called roll pins, and their technical term is tension pin because they're slotted down the side like that. And when you install them, you pound them in. You pound them in to the appropriate hole, and this squeezes in then, causing tension on the outside of the hole, and they just stay in there all by themselves in certain positions like this where it's operating a gear. Shrink tubes here. We've got to rebuild this limiter switch. This is a limiter switch on those mills, and when it comes one direction, here's the guts to it right there. There's, you know, this is it's a mechanical switching system. You know, this isn't, there's no printed circuit board or none of that kind of thing in here. So the table comes one direction, and there's a stopper on the table. When we get over there, I'll show it to you. And it pushes in on this mechanism right there. It's a mechanical mechanism. Intricate piece of equipment for 1954. If you think about it, look at all the wiring. Now this is undisturbed. I hate to do this, but I have to cut out, you know, this band off of here is part of the outside rubber coating on that other line over there, but it's just rotten all the way through. It's that friggin' old. So I have to preserve these pigtails as far out away from here as I possibly can to salvage as much of this wire as I can and solder these connections. I just twist it up like that, and then I make a horseshoe out of it. There you go. I make a loop like this, and I put the two ends of the wires together, and then I'll slip this over it, and I'll use a pair of needle nose to twist that tight so it holds it in place for me, and then a guy can get it soldered. Otherwise, you're fooling around with two ends and trying to, you know, trying to get them to stay put while you get the solder on it, and it's flying all over. Yeah, it's just easier. Put like a little miniature cable clamp on it and be done with it. Go ahead and twist that tight around the outside. Yeah, like that. Each side of the wire, from the motor, from the cord. This side was a little loose, so I twist tied this just a little bit and pushed it inside of that, and then that was the little horseshoe wire thing we cut off of the other cable, and I just looped it around there like a horseshoe and twist tied it tight, so now these two ends will stay together and I can just solder them. Now I gotta set my piece of steel in here and push those down to protect them from the heat. If you don't slide that shrink tube away from where you're working, just about the time you get this joint soldered up, you'll look down and you'll need to pull your shrink tube up, and because of the heat, if you don't slide this away and protect it, you'll see how I protect it with a heat sink. You'll look down and this shrink tube will be all shrunk up and you can't move it. You can't get it over your joint. Now you got an exposed joint. You got to unsolder the thing and start all over again. So I'll show you how to do that. My handy dandy little piece of iron right here. I'll just set it in there like that, and that'll catch any solder so it doesn't fall down in the motor. You don't want that. You don't want that stuff falling down, you know, in this motor, you know, getting back in the bearings and the windings. If a piece of that solder goes in there and rips these windings, you're done, you know, unless, back to that again, unless you know somebody that can do windings. Now you got your shrinky tubing thing over here. Now take your big pair of pliers, just don't cut the wire, and you slide that in here and use it for a great big heat sink so the heat can't get to the shrink tube. Okay, just like that. Now, in the side gutters, get it down as tight as you can, trim that off. That's the whole idea of the shrink tube, is to keep this from shorting out on anything else that ain't supposed to be short. Those two wires are supposed to be in connection with each other, not the rest of the world around it. So anyway, then we get our little butane torch. These things are really cool. You can refill them on the end. If you haven't got one of these, you should get one. They're not that expensive for what they do. This one's got a self-igniter on it. I just refueled it so you can control the heat. Let me get my little guard deal up here again. And we slip it in between the other wires because those are all set. Keep the heat away from the motor. Do your shrinky. Doesn't take much. Start putting it back together. See? this out 10, 15 years. But I kind of want to use it. Tried to take it out to 6.